Mr. Donald Trump has declared that gold will not face tariffs, effectively reversing a recent ruling by U.S. customs officials that had threatened to upend the international bullion trade. The ruling, which would have applied not just to Switzerland, a major gold refining hub, but to any country exporting specific types of gold bars to the U.S., had sparked widespread concern. The Swiss Precious Metals Association had warned that the new duties would have made it economically unviable to export these products to the United States, potentially disrupting a crucial supply chain and sending gold prices soaring. Joining us now to discuss what this means for investors in the global gold market is Anurag Singh, Managing Partner at Ansett Capital. Welcome to this conversation, sir. Thank you so much for giving us your time. My first question to you is, what would your reaction to this be and your assessment of Trump's clarification that gold will not face tariffs?
Yeah. So, Malika, thanks for having me on the show. Look, this was a bit of a confusion. As Trump was levying Switzerland with 39% tariffs until the negotiations move further. Apparently, gold is not it's a commodity where you can't have tariffs of that kind, right? Because nobody's making those profit margins or any such thing. So it was just a confusion where the Center of Border Protection (CBP) interpreted the tariff meaning that it will apply to all the product, which is correct, right? And so department just issued a clarification that it will not apply to gold because it will be very stupid to buy gold at a 40% tariff. That would not make sense. So I think it is just about that, nothing more. It was a confusion cause, and I think the clarification has followed, right? And this usually happens when you adopt a new policy. Clarification come in because of the complexities it creates in the marketplace. That's about it.
Okay. So then I'd like to understand from you, how does continued uncertainty over U.S. customs rulings on gold weights affect imports? Now, gold weights affect imports, especially from Switzerland, given dominance in the gold bar exports, because 1 kilo bars are the most common form traded on COMEX and comprise the bulk of Switzerland's bullion exports to the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, Malika, now we are getting into the complexities of gold market. I am not an expert there, but let me just broadly leave it at that gold generally is gaining momentum for the past 1.5, 2 years, and especially after the Ukraine war in 2022, wherein central banks, between these 5 or 6 central banks, Brazil, India, China, they are trying to de-dollarize and trying to buy the gold supply and beef up their gold supply. So if you see, 20% of all the incremental gold supply is being absorbed by the central banks of 5, 6 emerging market countries, including China. That is the cause where, if suddenly a 20-25% supply comes in from central banks at any price, that raises the price of bullion. That's all there is to it. It's a de-risk from the dollar, and it is a hedge against the dollar. We can't predict accurately how the prices will move in future, except that they are already pretty high enough, and gold exhibits this behavior where prices rise incrementally for about 7, 8, 10 years to astronomical levels, and then it takes about next 20 years to absorb those prices, right? It happened in 70s and 80s. And then again in 2000. So I think we should keep that history in mind, that past performance is not a predictor of future returns, especially in case of gold. Eventually, over a longer period of time, gold would just catch up with inflation, nothing more. That's my belief, but I might be wrong, Malika.
A couple of interesting points to extract there, Anurag. Number one, I would want to ask you, for somebody who's interested in tracking how gold rates have been moving in the past couple of years, as you mentioned, that in the past couple of years, and especially from 2015 to 2025, gold rates have almost tripled. And I'm talking about 24K carat gold per 10 gram. Do you think now that is astronomical, and in the next couple of decades, say next 10 or 20 decades, next 1 or 2 decades, the market will take time to absorb this, propulsion that it has seen, or is the astronomical growth yet to come into the picture?
No, I think this is as astronomical as it gets for gold, because usually, see, gold is a fear indicator. So whenever there is a fear in markets, people rush towards gold, or whenever there are war times, uncertain times. Unfortunately, this time the fear is not within the developed market. So there's no fear in largely in Europe and US. It's only in the emerging market. So they are trying to de-dollarize. I don't think there are too much legs to this rally, except all the emerging market buying. Any asset class which the developed world is not buying, which is United States and European Union, it has ceiling to the way it can run, so you can drive it for all you like and want, but understand at the core, this is an asset where United States and European Union, they don't want to own too much of it. So it's ultimately it's just a dead metal, right? I mean, it can act as an exchange of value as long as the other members agree to a price, but that can fall pretty abruptly over time. So very hard to say, but I think especially it is wrong to enter dollar at, gold at these prices, given the run it has shown for the last 10 years. And it's very imminent. Just pull out the gold chart from 1950s, 60s till now, and you'll figure out the huge spikes and then the absorptions. Well, who is to say what will happen in next 1 decade or so? But I'm not a big fan of gold anyways, as you would understand, right? So I would hesitate to comment outside of that. I understand people, in India it's more a fancy, but I'm not a believer in that school of thought, Malika.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Interesting comments over there, Anurag. I also want to ask you, you were mentioning about de-dollarization, and you said that this move of not tariffing or not
yeah.
imposing tariffs on gold is from the perspective of hedging risks or against de-dollarization.
Mhm.
Now, if that were to happen, given how geopolitical scenario of the world is currently posed, what do you think is going to happen to the yellow metal, especially in the US? And do you think it could then influence the decisions of foreign investors and how they perceive the US markets currently?
So US markets are not impacted by dollar price at all. It's not a big news within United States, as United States has sufficient, it already owns sufficient levels. I mean, you can look at the central banks, the level of gold it holds. But ever since the 1973-72 accord, where they delinked dollar with the gold, and then asked to pull back all the gold within United States, within the central government, and paid dollar to dollar on that. I think since then, dollar has not been a mover within the US markets. US markets are driven by innovation, technology, and the companies which are driving that. And you see that in the valuations, right? The top 10 players, about the seven big tech companies which are driving the market, by itself, they are $20 trillion. Within five or six companies, $20 trillion, including Nvidia, which is 4 trillion. That's the digital gold that US is more interested in, not the real gold, actually, Malika. So hard for me to say anything more than that on that.
So, Anurag, I actually want to then understand for an Indian viewer who's watching this currently and who's observed this news that Trump has gone ahead and planned of not imposing tariffs on gold. This basically poses a picture that where he wants to ease the incoming of gold into the country. What does this mean for global demand of gold? And what should we keep in mind as Indians then with regards to this news specifically?
We don't have to keep in mind anything. We just have to be aware that global demand of gold is only driven by India, China, and the developing countries. That's all. I think as long as viewers understand this, that is good enough to know that it is. Will it? The emerging world, the developed world, is not interested in hoarding gold at all. Not at a consumer level. It's not a thing within the consumers. In any case, jewelry is not that big. Even if it is, it's more synthetic and diamond, and now there are lab grown diamonds. So developed world will not drive the demand of gold. It's all Chinese who are in, since the real estate in China has not done well, so Chinese are also moving to gold bar, gold chips, gold coins, some version of that, and India. So whether it turns out to be actual gold or a fool's gold, we'll figure out, right? I am pretty pessimistic on this. This is not an asset where I mean, it'll catch up with inflation, but I don't think it's anything more than that. you know. I hope you get somebody who is really entrenched into the gold metal price protection. But I doubt they will have anything more to say on this because that's the macro picture. It's just if people rush to a metal, well, who can stop them? Who is to decide what is the price here?
Okay, okay. Interesting comments, Anurag. Thank you so much for talking to me and bringing us this perspective from a very crucial update. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.